Hi, my name is Dr. Vince Zuccaro. I started this practice, Queensway Optometric Center, 60 years ago now. Proud to be an optometrist, continue to be an optometrist, and live in California supporting optometry, not only in this practice, but around the world. It started actually way beyond the starting of the practice. I knew that I wanted to be in healthcare, so I went into optometry. Having grown up and being in a business environment constantly, the right thing to do was to own my own business, to own my own practice. And as such, I began to look around for where I would like to live, where I would like to practice, and I focused on what was then Cooksville. I focused on Cooksville because it was a little community, a small town, 45,000 people, but growing. A lot of people were moving out of Toronto and into Cooksville, where it was a country environment. I decided I would do the same thing and looked around for spaces and finally ran into Dr. Robin Williams, who in fact was at the other end of his life. He was ready to retire. We decided that I would take over his practice, and shortly thereafter raised some money with help from my own parents, bought that practice and started that practice just up the street here at the highway, Dundas Highway and Hurontario Street. And that's where the practice all started in 1965.
I joined January of 1971. I'd had a practice in Peterborough for 2.5 years. After 2.5 years, I decided that Peterborough was not the place that I wanted to live for the rest of my life. I'd known Vince from school days and hadn't seen him for a while. It was nice to see him. And I really wanted to just pick his brain about the Toronto area, the West Toronto area. And he said, well, rather than starting your own practice in Toronto, why don't you come in with me? So I gave it some thought, and lo and behold, I decided to throw my hat in with Vince. I ultimately bought a share of the practice, 50% share of the practice, and that became Drs. Zuccaro and Tracy Optometrists. And from there, we just tended to grow.
Even beyond Pat and I, that practice was growing very dramatically. And all of a sudden now we're saying, well, people want to have their eyes examined and they were having to wait a month to get an appointment. There was something wrong with this. People can't see. So we knew that we had to have someone else. Well, then the question is, where do we find the person that has a unique personality and still the physical skills to be a good eye doctor? I knew the new graduates that were coming through the School of Optometry. I was there as a supervisor in the clinic. I focused very quickly on Peter. Peter Martinello was just a totally different personality than what I had, very different in most respects than what Pat had. That's what the practice needed, somebody who had the skills to do the work, the technical work that was required, and yet the personality that would attract different people than what Pat and I would have attracted at the same time.
Peter Martinello, one of our former partners, gave me a call one day and said that one of the partners, Vince Zuccaro, was taking a position in California to work with a pharmaceutical company. I thought I was making some plans in Oshawa, but I hadn't really signed anything and nothing was formally prepared. And I really liked that office in Mississauga. The practice itself was a very modern facility. We were a non-dispensing practice at the time. That was a decision that Vince and Pat and Peter had made prior to that. We were full scope, but they separated the examination side away from the optical side. But then the practice continued to grow, and we were running out of space, and it was an opportunity to move the practice, and found this location opposite the Mississauga Hospital, kind of the health community, if you will. And so we transitioned here and became full scope optometry.
So starting with the doctors here at Queens Optometric Center, when they moved from Camilla, they were a non-practicing dispensary, so all the patients were used to getting their prescriptions and leaving, going somewhere else. Now they were given their prescription, and we had a dispensary on site, so we a little bit more work to get them to tell them why Queensway is doing for them.
When I first joined Queensway Optometric Center back in 1991, they had done things a little bit more traditionally. Everything was done by hand, all the records were done on hand, the appointments were done in this really big book. The day before, they would have to type up the schedule to share, and all the accounting, the receipts were done on handwritten paper. And with the computer background and my familiarity with the technology, I was able to incorporate that back into the office to try to bring it up to speed to what was common in other business situations that I had been in. Even simple things like bringing in a fax machine, which we hadn't had at that point. But I also introduced a computer system that automated much of the function that was necessary for the office. And so through the years, I've been able to try to bring the office up to speed. At this particular point, I feel that the office is pretty much cutting edge, and we're trying to adopt technology as quickly as possible as it's being introduced into the marketplace.
When I joined the practice, there was the 4 partners, and I think 4 Partners Strong really sold because they had different dynamics as well too, and it wasn't about business. That's what drew me, because it was about heart, and so it was an easy sell in that sense to come in, and so it just was a great fit, a great relationship that started. And it helped me to build the team that I have today. The most important thing truly for picking staff is honesty, compassion, empathy, respect, all those core deep values, because everything else is teachable.
The philosophy has been the same. The way we treat people is the same. Everybody was of the same mindset. We invited people to join our practice who we felt ultimately would become partners in the practice and share the same philosophy.
Knowing that our family is here, I call Queensway my second family. Coming in every day, being welcomed by our friends, our staff, and our patients is really motivating. And it's really neat to see generations of patients coming in as well. Like, we spend, I think, at Queensway a lot of time with our patients with each visit. We get to know them very well, and then over time we get to know their families, their extended families, their grandkids, their kids, and that really makes it fun.
I'm currently an associate optometrist here at Queensway, and over time I've been able to be a part of some of the community aspects that the clinic has with the community of Cooksville, and some of these outreach programs to help draw new patients that might have come to the area to the clinic.
Queensway Optometric Center is committed to eye care and vision health beyond our community here as well. And so we're an active fundraiser for a group called Optometry Giving Sight.
And this is a global organization that not only has medical, like optometry missions like we did, where we went in and left, but also was building sustainable models of eye care. For example, building optometry schools to educate young people in those countries to become optometrists, knowing that our team would embrace that kind of fundraising effort. And Terry, our office manager especially, we brought that idea back to the clinic, and then we started fundraising for it. And from day one, we were raising the most money of any one clinic for a long period of time, in Canada and then globally as well. We've had that title.
Early in my career here, Dr. Young introduced us to Optometry Giving Sight. I took it under my belt, and the team supported, and it just helps us to give back. So we're here and we're helping within our community, but then we're taking it beyond that. Patients recognize it, they help, they come in, they know. I've done a mission. I was able to go to Africa, so I got to see this particular charity firsthand, which was amazing. And to see how grateful and rewarding that was to help people. And then within our area too, we've done charity through CNIB. We give glasses to the Lions Club, so we're continuously just trying to help wherever we can.
Having a group of doctors, and there's 7 doctors right now in the office who have a broad background and different experiences, but we work and chat together very, very often. And so we feed on each other's strengths. And a lot of times where somebody may have expertise or experience with a particular patient or a particular product, that we're very eager to share that information amongst the group, and so that we can get more familiar and more comfortable dealing with those situations.
We lean on our colleagues a lot, and we always want to know what their successes are with certain technology or products. We may not always be the very first to adopt them, but we're selective on what we do choose for our patients.
So besides giving comprehensive eye exams, I've taken upon the role of fitting some of the more specialty contact lenses here, such as scleral lenses and ortho-K lenses, and that's kind of been my niche since for the past couple of years since I've started here.
In terms of the recent innovations in technology, I think some of the biggest things that are new to the industry and to the practice would probably be managing dry eye and myopia. In terms of managing myopia, I feel like that's something that I've gravitated towards because I do have an interest in, I see people of all ages, but in particular, I love seeing kids, and this is something that's new for them. With myopia control, it's focusing on slowing down the progression of myopia or minus prescriptions, and that's done by specialized contacts, glasses, and potentially drops as well to minimize the progression of myopia, which can be linked to, yes, a higher prescription, but more importantly to a higher risk of retinal problems or diseases long-term in the future.
So what I specialize here is dry eye. When I became partner in 2022, I asked the partners if they agreed with bringing in some dry eye equipment into the office. And since then, we've been seeing a lot of dry eye patients. Dry eye is very, very prevalent. And years ago, it wasn't seen as like a specialist. It was just, okay, you have dry eye, here are some drops, here are some wipes. But now there's so much more you can do. And there's a lot more diagnostics and treatment options out there. So that is one area that I specialize in. But at the same time, I do contact lenses and pediatrics and everything else. I just find I'm very passionate about the dry eye space.
I think optometrists in general have to realize that the communication and the compassion and the commitment to patients can never be lost. And that is something, regardless of how much technology there will be in the future, it's those personal things that ensure that the patients feel comfortable and that they feel that they've been listened to and that their needs are being attended to and that they're being understood.
I think the most important part that I'd like to carry forward are the values of our practice, that it doesn't matter how many people you see in a day, how tired you are, how busy you are, we always put the patient first. And I think they feel it. I think they know.
What I do say to patients and what I continue to say to patients is thank you. Thank you for choosing us, because it definitely is a choice, and trusting us as a team to continue to help them and their generations of providing great health care services. And for continuing to come back. And when we have new patients that come in, we constantly are the same thing, welcoming them and saying thank you for choosing us. And we won't let you down.